story of Adanne. Adanne was the first daughter of Mr. Amobi and his wife. She was so beautiful, adorable, tall, and smart. Adanne grew up in the city with her siblings. They hardly visit their hometown, Ameze. Because of this, they knew nobody from their side. During one of the New Yam festivals in their village, their parents decided to take them home. During the festival, Adanne met Prince Nwadike. Prince Nwadike was a very handsome young man, smart, tall, and Prince Charming. He was every woman's dream. All the women in their village were attracted to him due to his handsomeness. They all wished to be his lovers, but he paid no attention to them. Prince Nwadike, to the people's eyes, was a respectable, humble, and responsible man. When Adanne saw Prince Nwadike during the festival, she was attracted to him, just like other ladies in their town. Due to her beauty, the prince got attracted to her too. Prince Nwadike could not take his gaze off her throughout the ceremony. Later on, he approached her and declared his interest in her. Since then, they became friends, and they looked so beautiful together. They believed their world together would be the best and that they were meant for each other. They seemed to love each other so well. Adanne would always imagine the way the prince used to treat her, all the promises he made to her on how they would build their empire together. She so much believed the prince was the best for her. Later along the line, they fell deeply in love with each other. Adanne would not want to hear or talk about anything else except about the prince. She always wanted to be around him. She had always dreamt of being the prince's wife. And finally, her dream had come true, as the prince had promised to marry her. After the prince proposed to her, she went home happily and told her parents that she would be getting married soon. Her parents were so happy that finally their beautiful daughter had accepted to get married. Eager to know the lucky man, her father asked her who the lucky man was. Adanne happily told them that it was Prince Nwadike. Immediately after she mentioned the prince, the smiles on her father's face disappeared. Her mother stood up and went inside without saying anything. Everywhere became quiet. Adanne became confused, and she asked her father the reason for their attitude. Her father told her that she wouldn't marry the prince, not when he was alive. Adanne insisted on knowing why. Then, her father told her that the prince was not who he appeared to be before people. He told her that Prince Nwadike is a monster and nothing would make him sell any of his daughters to that family. Adanne was so surprised at her father's words. She refused to believe him and insisted on marrying the prince. She told her parents that the prince is a good man and every woman's dream. She begged them to give the prince a chance to prove to them that he is actually a good person. But her parents refused. Her father told her that the prince might appear to be good before everybody, but the real him can only be seen by an elder. He pleaded with her to look beyond the physical, but she refused. She told them that nothing would stop her from marrying the prince. Adanne started having issues with her parents because they refused to support her marriage to the prince. She started causing trouble in their house. She promised her parents war unless he marries the prince. Her mother tried to talk her out of it, but she insisted on marrying the prince. She started disrespecting her parents. She threatened to take her life if they do not allow her to marry the prince. After she threatened to take her life, her father called her and told her that he would allow her to marry the prince, but on the condition that whatever she sees in the marriage, she must endure. He told her that if the prince turns out to be truly a monster, she should not think of coming back home. But if the prince turns out to be a good person, as she assumed, let her enjoy her marriage and should not bother remembering them. He told her not to bring anything from the palace to them. He told her to face her marriage to the prince, whether good or bad. Adanne could not wait for a second, or even give a second thought to her father's conditions. She chose to marry the prince and face the consequences. She told her father that they will not see her in their house once she gets married to the prince. Her father cried, but she didn't care. All she wanted was to be with the prince. She later married the prince. 2 years after her marriage, she had no child. Her world turned around as she was not able to get pregnant for the prince. The prince turned from a loving, caring husband to an abusive and terrible husband. The prince started disrespecting her. He talks down on her all the time. He embarrasses her in public and calls her a man. He makes her do hard jobs, saying she is a man just like him. The queen would always call her a cursed womb. She would always say that she married the prince because of his handsomeness and their wealth, with no plan of giving them an heir. Nothing she does these days pleases anybody in the royal house. She became a slave in her husband's house, and the prince started cheating on her, bringing in different kind of women. Adanne, each time she complained, would receive the beating of her life. She does not know what to do. The worst part is that she cannot go back to her father's house because of the choice she made to face any consequences that follows her marriage to the prince. One day, the prince abusively told her that he did not care if she had a child for him or not, because he already had a child of his own, who is 5 years old. When Adanne heard this, she was shocked and couldn't believe what she heard. She was heartbroken and wondering how the prince had a child that was 5 years old when their marriage was just 3 years. She pleaded with the prince to forgive her if she had done anything to wrong him, but he pushed her and walked away. She started crying. She cried so deeply. She do not know where to go. She can't even think of going back home because her father had warned her not to come back to his house again before she got herself into this mess. The stubborn fly that refused to listen has followed the corpse to the grave, she said to herself. She became helpless. One day, Adanne thought that it was better if she went to her father's house and faced anything her father did to her. She made up her mind, summoned the courage, and went down to their house. On getting to their gate, her father sighted her and warned her not to step her foot into his house. He told her to go and continue her marriage with her lovely prince. She knelt down at the gate and was pleading with her father to let her in. She told her father to forgive her, saying that she never knew the royal family were chameleons. She pleaded with her father to allow her to stay in their house for a few days while she figured out how to help herself. Her father ignored her, telling her to go back to her husband's house. She had no other option than to go back to the palace. On getting back to the palace, the prince laughed at her and told her that she was disrespectful to her parents. He told her that they knew him from childhood and her father knew everything about him, and that was the main reason why he never supported their marriage. He told her that it was so unfortunate that she had to fall into his trap. She asked the prince what she has done wrong to deserve the kind of treatment he was giving her. She pleaded with the prince to forgive her if she did something wrong, but he paid no attention to her pleadings. The prince told her that it was never her fault that they had no child, but his. He told her that he was caused by his son's mother before she died. She cursed him because he denied the pregnancy, which made her parents to throw her out of their house, and she suffered while carrying the pregnancy, to the extent that she gave birth to their son in the bush. He told Adanne that he knew he was never going to have a child before he met her. After telling her all this, he threatened to kill her if she tells anyone about this. He told her that only her father knew his little secret, and that was why he was insisting on not letting her to marry him. But he made him swear an oath never to talk or die. He told her to better remain silent just like her father, or he will kill her. He made her not to say anything concerning this, so that his parents will continue to put the blame on her, thinking the problem for their childlessness is her fault, not knowing it's their son's fault. After everything, he told her that if she can endure his lifestyle, she can stay, but if she can't, she should go back to the streets where she belonged. Adanne's life changed entirely. She cried every day. She could not do anything. The pain was so unbearable for her, to the extent that she developed high blood pressure, and no one cared about her. She died in the process.